Hey guys, welcome to the first ever episode of the 321 Leadership Podcast with me, Pastor Jeff. I'm so excited to be here with you. This is my gift to you, just out of gratitude for you, my Restore Church leadership team. I've been producing leadership content every month in written format for good over a year now. And recently, you guys just flooded me with requests saying, hey, let's make this a podcast so we can watch and listen as we go. And just keep rewatching and keep listening. And I was so blessed by that. I also want to just encourage everybody from outside of our leadership network to enjoy this. I'm going to focus on a couple things throughout this podcast. I'm going to focus primarily on volunteer leadership and staff leadership development within a church ministry context, nonprofit context, scaling leadership based on different sizes of organization, and other similar things. I'm so excited for this. Where do I want to start? At the beginning, of course, but I just want to say a few things before we go. And number one, I'm so grateful for you for just trusting me and letting me just speak a little bit into your life, especially with something as serious as leadership. I want to tell you, I believe Jesus was and is the greatest leader of all time, and that when we grow as leaders, we actually get to be a little bit more like Jesus. And I don't know about you, but I want to be like Jesus. In fact, I believe that he put a little bit of leader in every person he's created. I believe with all my heart that leadership is one of the foundations of life. In fact, I believe most people's struggle and success is the result of them leading themselves well or leading themselves poorly. If you're celebrating success in life, it's probably because you lead your life well and hopefully honor Jesus while you do it. If you struggle in life, it's probably the result of, and I don't want to be mean about it, but it's a result of maybe struggling to lead yourself well. And I believe that after being obsessive about studying leadership and growing in leadership, I have two really, really, really great joys in life. I have a lot of them, but two of my biggest ones that apply to this podcast are, number one, I love helping people learn how to be the leader God made them to be. And I love helping people break through ceilings to become better leaders. I don't believe that people have limited potential in their life. In fact, I believe that you grow and you hit a ceiling to your potential. I believe you grow and you hit a ceiling. And within that context, I believe that you can grow and get coached and learn, and you can bust through that ceiling and become a new leader. Reach a new level of leadership and grow and grow and grow until you hit the next ceiling, you break through it. And that's what I want to do with this podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about the three-legged leadership stool. It's a resource I've developed personally after a couple of years of obsessively studying a certain type of leadership problem and leadership development. First, what I want to do though is I want to define leadership in my role and in my organization. What I want to do is I want to have everybody memorize this definition of leadership. Leadership is taking people someplace you're already going. What is leadership? It's taking people someplace you're already going. One more time. It is taking people someplace you're already going. You're going there. You got footsteps for them to follow in because you have already taken footsteps. You're excited to go there. You're passionate about going there, and your passion makes other people want to go there with you. What do leaders do? I say it all the time. Leaders lead. You are taking people someplace you're already going. So within that, the three-legged stool is going to help you be clear in where you're going. It's going to help you be clear in where you're going, and great leadership grows in clarity. Great leadership grows in clarity. That's what you're going to do. You're going to grow in helping people understand how to go where you're going. And as your ministry and as your leadership grows, you actually need to grow in how you express that because you'll need more clarity as it grows. So this is going to help you with that. The three-legged leadership stool. I'm going to read this paragraph I wrote really quick, just to make sure I get it all said. Ready? All right, here we go. I believe the three-legged leadership stool will give some life-changing clarity to many leaders. What do we know about a three-legged stool? I'm sitting on a four-legged stool right now to make this for you. And what do we know? If the legs are uneven, it's wobbly. If the legs are uneven, it's wobbly. And most people probably don't like a wobbly stool. Unless you're really fidgety like me, then actually it's probably a really fun thing. Yeah. But most people don't want a wobbly stool. You want the legs even and evenly strong so you can trust it while you're sitting on it. And what happens is, as your leadership grows, as your role changes and evolves over time, I think the legs become a little uneven, and you need to fortify them so that they are even and sturdy. I know it's kind of a weird analogy, because why leadership is anything but sitting down. It is marching forward, paving the way, helping other people go someplace where they're going. But bear with me, because it's a helpful analogy. And shout out to my wife, Brittany, who gave me the idea, and I ran with it and made it my own. But I kind of stole it from her. Anyways, here we go. The first leg, are you ready for it? We're gonna probably want to write this down, take some notes. The first one is your ministry specialty. Your ministry specialty within the church context. In fact, actually outside of church even. This happens all over the place. There's something you were passionate about. There's something you were passionate about. You loved it so much that other people love it because you love it. You are drawn to it, and you draw other people to it. It's so exciting to you. You love it. You love it. You love it. You love it. And then that probably got you appointed. You championed it because you loved it, and that probably got you appointed to a position. And even in the secular world, I have a good buddy who loves people so well, and he is ridiculously lovable. So much so that like 4 organizations were headhunting him at the same time, saying like, hey, the way you love people, we want you to come and do sales for us, because we love our people. We don't just want to sell stuff to them, but we want to love our customers, and you would be good at doing that. Come work for us. And they all offered him jobs at like the same time. And man, what a good problem to have. I think the same thing happens in church a lot, or a nonprofit. Is like, well, you meet somebody and they're passionate about something, so you appoint them because they're already championing it, right? Maybe it's something musical. Maybe it's something with teaching kids. Maybe it's something like in church, evangelizing or caring for the vulnerable. Like, man, you're so good at caring for vulnerable people. You champion it. You champion it. That's what we call people who are not appointed leaders, but they're doing a great job. We call them champions at Restore. And then you're like, well, why don't you just become a leader? Why don't you lead our team that does that? Or there's other people who do it already. Why don't we put them together, call the team, and you lead that team? Or maybe there's a vacancy in the leadership role, and it's like, hey, I want you to apply for it because you're already championing it. Why? You have a specialty. This is foundational to leadership. You need to have the specialty to do the thing, right? Whatever the thing is, somebody has to be a specialist, and that's why there's a team or a department or a ministry existing around it. But this is tricky, because this is where your leadership is most fun, right? That's like, in the action, in the mix, whatever the thing is, and you're crushing it and you're doing it and you love it. But sometimes to a fault, you love it so much that it actually messes up the other 2 legs of the stool. And so let's talk about those. And most of the content will be about those 2 things. The second one is called your leadership administration. This is kind of complicated, but bear with me. It's really important. So second one is leadership administration. If you want to write that down. First specialty, second one's administration. This includes like the secretarial details of your role, but not just the secretarial details. Here's what I mean. So in like an organization like Restore, there's probably roles that need administrated and are secretarial, but maybe the team or the ministry is not big enough to have a staff secretary do it, or nobody else can do it. And part of you being appointed to lead was to manage that secretarial part of the ministry, right? And so things like maybe scheduling. A lot of our leaders are appointed to schedule a team. That's administrative, right? What else? Planning meetings, maybe making copies even, right? There's some organizations where, like some leaders don't make copies. They have people make copies for them. But in a small nonprofit thing or a growing team or wherever, maybe you're appointed and part of your role is to make copies and distribute them to your team. And that's part of leading. But it doesn't just stop with secretarial. Leadership administration goes farther than that. And I want you to really listen to this, because I think a lot of times when I coach leaders and they're struggling, it's because they're missing this key piece. Are you ready? True leadership administration is not just about working in the ministry, it's working on the ministry. Let me say that one more time. True leadership administration is not just working in the ministry. True leadership administration is not just working in the ministry, it's working on the ministry. Okay? It's working on the ministry. And so what is that? This is the strategic thinking that improves processes, that sets goals, that ensures the long-term growth and quality of the ministry or team or whatever it is. So, like scheduling, that's normal administration. I prefer our leaders to have a quarterly schedule out at a time. But then things like building a resource, right? And training and teaching the team. That's leadership administration that goes beyond the secretarial. That's where you're building things that help you lead your team. I really encourage our leaders, and I demand our staff to do this, to have, I call it white space. And for a lot of people, it's painful, but it is, I believe, needed for good leadership. That's time where you actually, it's probably funny if you come into our staff setting on the wrong day. There's probably days where it looks like our leaders are just sitting around, snoozing or daydreaming or doing whatever, but they're doing white space. And if I'm not going to mess up my camera angles, but I'm actually surrounded by whiteboards. I have 5 of them all around my office right now. And each one has a different purpose. I use them to do white space, and it's where I don't work in the ministry, I work on it. I have one that talks about, right over here to my right, that shows different new leadership roles I want to add to our organization in 2025. And some new roles that I think will help restore be better. I have a list of, I have a whole category for what I need to do to restore clarity and vision. What's leadership? It's taking people someplace you're already going. And so one of the things I have to think about is how much vision am I giving to restore as a whole church? And how am I communicating that to the congregation? How am I communicating that differently to the leaders? How am I communicating that to the staff? And I think about, do I need to do anything to give them more clarity on that? New resources. Is there new training that people need? And literally just thinking, is there a new training I should develop? Is there an old training that I should reintroduce and refresh? What kind of schedule and habit should I build to be better at leading them? And there's so many things, like there's so many things. And you find those things having white space time. I think it's one of the most important parts of leading. Does that make sense? So you have basic secretarial, and then you have the things where you work on it, not just in it. Now I want to make a clear distinction here. You can delegate some of it, right? Good leadership often delegates. What do you want to do? You want to also help people who are championing underneath you, or, that you're leading. They're championing the thing that you're leading them to do. Well, maybe they're ready to start doing some leadership too. And so you take some stuff off your plate that tastes good to you, and you put it on their plate because it tastes good to them too. Some of your administrative or secretarial things, there might be somebody on your team who it would be really good for them to spend some time building a schedule, because maybe someday you're going to get a promotion and they have your role and they need to know how to do that. They're your number 2, or they can fill in when you're sick, or, this or that. And you teach them how to do some of the secretarial things. So they're one step closer to being the same leader that you are. Or whatever it may be. Or maybe you have somebody on the team who loves doing part of your role that you love a little bit less than you want to admit. And they love doing it and you love it less. And so you can delegate it and empower them to do it. But on top of that, you have to understand you can delegate some things, but some of the stuff, like, you have to do some administration as a leader. At least I think to a certain level of leadership that's required. You can't delegate all the administration, because then you're probably not capable of leading. Now there's maybe some situations where there's a really scaled up role where you do your one thing or 2 or 3 things, and somebody else handles all the administration, but I'm not there yet. And there's a good chance most people watching this aren't either. Now we'll do a whole lesson someday on how you need to, as a good leader, do more of less. but that doesn't mean delegate everything, especially in terms of administration. There's always probably going to be some sort of administrative requirement. All right, point made, because I could talk about this one for days. I'm really, really impassioned about it, especially because I think when I coach leaders, this is usually where tension forms. It's probably one of these three legs. Like if you're struggling in your leadership, it's probably you're feeling kind of instinctively that one of the legs of your leadership is just a little off. And like that creates tension, and kind of balancing them out would make you feel a little more stable and comfortable in your leadership. But this is most often the one I think that people struggle with in my experience. All right, you guys ready for the next one? So first one is leadership specialty. The second one is leadership administration. And the next one is leadership practices and procedures. There's some overlap between this and admin, but I think they're worth talking about separately. So here's a definition for it. I want to write this down. Leadership practices and procedures are the relational and strategic skills you use to guide your team. So leadership is taking people someplace you're already going. Your practices and procedures are the ways that you communicate and train them to go to that place with clarity. What do leaders do? Leaders lead. And so you're going to give them clarity on how to get where you're going. So hosting meetings with a reliable and predictable pattern, doing one-on-one check-ins, giving trainings and training sessions, even just a communication strategy, to make encouragement strategy and pattern. I encourage all leaders to have some sort of predictable pattern that you use to appreciate your team and love on your team. What could some of this look like? Well, here's just a glimpse at some of my practices and procedures. I pray for our leaders daily, or almost daily. I am actually working on getting better at this. I do a lot of it silently without talking to my leaders. Sometimes I feel like I'm too busy to talk to everybody every day, but I'm actually trying to build more margins so that I can call or see different leaders in person to pray for them and encourage them on a regular basis. I have a weekly staff meeting. At our weekly staff meeting, because we want clarity, we often will talk about things that everybody already knows just to make sure everybody had talked about it. Like prepping for our Sunday services. We always talk as a group about certain components of the upcoming service. Every Monday, we talk about it for the following Sunday. And then my assistant, Sophie, emails us on Thursday notes from Monday to refresh our minds, because we want to all have that communicated with clarity. So we're all going to the same place on Sunday and having the same expectation. I have a monthly email I send to all of our leaders. And me doing this video is adding quality to that monthly email. I want to do spontaneous blessings throughout the year to bless our team. I'm trying to scale that up. I felt kind of overwhelmed with some things last year, and I'm trying to make more margin to do that. I'm just being honest and transparent with you, because I want you to see some of what I'm experiencing is probably some things that you're going to experience along the way too. My wife and I, we provide out of our own out of our deep sense of appreciation for our leadership team. We host an all inclusive, like we take care of everything, leadership Christmas party for leaders and their spouses, to just show them how much we love them and appreciate them. And then I do one-on-one coaching monthly with my directors who feel like they need one-on-one, and just a bunch of different things. So I have a communication strategy. I have a training strategy. I have a meeting strategy. One of my favorite things we do is we have an every other month all leaders meeting where I provide a training. And one of the things you should do with your administration, let's back up a little bit to your administration and your leadership practices, kind of where they overlap. I really encourage you to use your administration and your leadership practices to routinely put all of your ideas and expectations on paper into a document that visually shows people what you expect of them. I think in a small team, when you're the champion, the lead doer, what happens is you teach people to do it by showing them, inviting them to do it with you. I think if you want to give clarity, what you need to do is put it on paper. What does that force you to do? It forces you to create clarity for yourself. You have to be way more clear if you write something and diagram it or graph it or draw it than if you just say it in passing. Hey, welcome to the team. Here's what we do. Now do it. Instead, you say, here's what we do. And here are the phrases that we use so everybody has the same language. Here are the steps that we all do. So we all do it the same way. Right. That makes sense. And so that would be a good practice and procedure to help your team do the things that you expect them to do, and all go to the same place. Good so far? You ready to go a little bit deeper? Because what I want to do now is I want to take the 3 legs, put them together, and show you how your leadership progresses. And the 2 legs that we just talked about, the last 2, become increasingly important as your leadership grows. You ready? If not, get a cup of coffee because I need a little sip myself, and we'll keep going. All right. Let's go a little deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper. And I want to read this statement to you as well. All of the 3 legs, I think, work together in a really special way as your leadership progresses. So I wrote this paragraph. I want to read it so I'd say it just right. I believe leaders often experience the following progressions as their leadership and or their ministry grows. This progression will likely lead to a change of responsibility for your leadership role, which simultaneously creates tensions and moments of joy and celebration. What does that mean? As you maybe started off on your team, you were passionate and successful and you led well. And so the team grew. The ministry grew. The responsibility grew. And as what you're leading grows, your responsibility changes. As it grows, your responsibility changes. As it grows, your role changes out of necessity. I feel like my job changes because we've grown 62.3% 2 years in a row. And even before that, we were growing by huge percentages that I just don't have off the top of my head right now. I feel like every 6 months, my job is changing. And that's crazy. And if you're in my organization, if mine's changing every 6 months because we're growing so much, it probably means yours is changing on a regular basis too. Your role changes. And as your role changes in our season right now, it means your role is also growing. So what happens is, here's the progression. Are you having a good time so far? Are you tracking with me? If so, type it in the comments. Maybe make sure you respond to this message with an email if you get an email form, or leave it in the comments wherever I post this video. But I hope you're having fun with me right now. We're going to get a little technical, but this is so important. Here's the progression of your leadership. You went from champion to lead doer. So your ministry specialty was something you championed, and you were either headhunted and recruited. Somebody said, hey, I'd really like you to do this. Or you built a team, you asked for permission, somebody let you build a team, build a ministry, whatever happened, you became the leader. And when you start with your leadership, a lot of times you start as the lead doer, doing the thing you're passionate about. Unless you were like hired into some high capacity leadership role because of your leadership skills, it seems like you usually start as the lead doer. And at that point, most of your team helps you do what you're passionate about doing. You gather people to do the thing you like to do with you, right? What could be some examples? You are passionate about caring for vulnerable people in a specific way. And I'm trying not to talk about any of our specific ministries, but that's one that comes to mind. And because you're passionate about caring for vulnerable people in a specific way, you're inspiring and you're leading a team. And what you do is you have them help you care for specific people the same way you do beside you. You're the lead doer, and other people help you do what you do. Let's make up an example. You join the kitchen team, and the kitchen team provides snacks and hospitality and coffee, and there may be a source of information for guests on a Sunday service. But you're really, really, really passionate about making coffee. Okay, and you're so passionate that they appoint you to be the lead coffee maker. Oh, good job. You're the lead coffee maker. You're the coffee maker. But now, you do it all the time. You don't even let other people make coffee. But then what happened was you actually needed to start teaching everybody else how to make coffee because other people wanted to learn how to make coffee as good as you so they could make it that good at home and so that they could serve other people as well as you when you're not at every single service. And this is so successful that the kitchen leader, she sees that you actually accidentally started a coffee team within the kitchen team. You have a team within the team. Praise God. You just gave your leader a promotion because they appoint you to be the leader. And so now they have two teams on their one team. They lead both teams, but you lead one of the teams for them, the coffee team. Now you're the chief coffee maker, the coffee team leader that kind of works within the kitchen team. You kind of see how this is going. In the early stages, you have to be the chief doer, but now you have to go from lead doer to team leader. And this is a shift in thinking that I think a lot of people struggle with. Okay. And even when you enter an existing team, a lot of times you're appointed because you're great at what the team does, maybe not great at leading people. I think this happens a lot in churches. You're great at or passionate about something, but maybe not excellent at the other two legs of ministry. And this is where the two legs, leadership, administration, and leadership practices and procedures becomes really important because you have to shift and progress from lead doer to true team leader. What happens? Your role and responsibility changes. You are more and more effective at doing, but because of that, you need to help other people be more and more effective at doing. So you become the lead empowerer and lead trainer and lead delegator more than you're the team lead doer. You step back from being the only or main person that does. You spend less time doing and making other people help you do, and more time just helping them do it. So coffee example. Now you maybe make coffee less because you've trained a bunch of other people to take turns doing it. And it could become, maybe it became a coffee shop within the church. And so now you're kind of thrust into becoming maybe like the coffee shop manager, and you have new administrative roles and you maybe do quality control stuff and I don't want to go too far into this example, but you could kind of see where that could snowball in a really good way. But so your focus becomes more on casting vision and aligning the team with the mission. In my role, like Restore is going in a direction, and I'm supposed to lead Restore as a congregation, a team of leaders and a staff on how to get everybody to go to the same place. And you within your team, if you're in Restore, for example, you need to teach your team as we get bigger and scale and grow. How does your team, the coffee team, or maybe the foster ministry team, or the worship team, or the kids ministry, whatever the team is, how is that team part of the bigger vision of the organization? It's easy when the team grows to get lost in you maybe a cup of coffee and forget that the coffee is actually about leading people to Jesus. And there's a way that all connects. And you need to give them more clarity on that, because as it grows, it's easy to lose clarity and vision. So you continue to give them vision. Your focus becomes more on delegating than doing. In fact, advanced leaders of larger teams or more complicated teams, you help your team members delegate more stuff to others. So you delegate stuff to them, you help them delegate stuff to others. You can have a huge level of layers of the way you're helping and leading people. So we could say, like, here's an example. We have a small group ministry called Gospel Community. I have a Gospel Community director, and he recently appointed somebody to be a leader underneath him called the Gospel Community Coordinator, who helps lead some of his other gospel community leaders. And so we're working through how do we make him a leader and help him appoint a new leader to do some more leadership stuff. And like there's layers to this. That's what will happen in advanced stuff. We'll talk about that in another episode, but I just want to introduce you to the idea. You are confident and you are skilled because you're passionate about it. You know where you're going. You love going there, but now you have to help other people be confident and skilled at doing the same thing you are. So you can do that. I think I said this already, but just in case I didn't, I want to say it again. You take stuff off of your plate, put it on their plate so they can lead too. So it's not just you leading, and you delegate. you're going to maybe spend less time taking care of the people or the things that your ministry does, and maybe more time loving on and encouraging the people who are doing it for you on your team. Maybe you spend a little less time caring for the people the team serves and more time just loving the living daylights out of the people who are loving the people that the team exists to love, right? I think you get the idea. Keep on going. Maybe you spend more time creating training content than doing it. And again, I could talk about this all day. I'm really passionate about it, but I hope you get the idea. You have a change of value from team lead doer to team leader, and you find more value in your team's success rather than things you do to be successful on the team. So let's put this together. We'll start landing the plane here. The progression, first let's review. What is leadership? Leadership is taking people someplace you're already going. You love where you're going. Jesus is with you. You are with him and you are going there and you are so happy about it. That's what leadership is. What do leaders do? Leaders lead 3 legs of the stool: leadership specialty, leadership administration, and what's the third one? Leadership practices and procedures. The stool gets imbalanced. It's easy to neglect the second 2 because of the first one, but you have to progress from lead doer to lead delegator to team leader to lead empowerer. You have to become lead empowerer, lead delegator, lead trainer, like team leader. That's what you have to become for your lead team to thrive and to continue to grow and continue to scale. Early in your leadership, it's good. I think in a lot of environments, not all environments, but a lot of environments, it's good to have a season as the lead doer. I think in all of my observations, it seems it's inevitable for a lot of people. It's inevitable for a lot of people. But as you become successful, you need to make the progression to team leader to continue to be successful. Otherwise, you'll be a team of one or a small team that doesn't live up to its potential, and you will not help those you lead live up to their potential. What I say when I started, we like to help people find the ceiling of their current leadership and their current ability, and we want to help them break through it to find new levels of potential. So, key points. Maybe make a mind shift your mindset to say, hey, I love seeing my team succeed as much as I love seeing myself succeed doing what my team exists to do. You find value in your team's success and your team, the members of your team growing as much as you value, maybe more than you value, your personal contributions to your team. Obviously, by leading, you're contributing to your team, but I think you know what I mean. A great book about this is called Hero Maker by Dave Ferguson. It's one of my favorite books ever. It changed my life. Now, then you're going to think about empowering others and scaling for growth. You're going to use your administrative time to think about how to prepare your ministry for the future, how to equip your team for the future. Not just completing tasks, you're going to coach and train and invest in them. You're going to scale. You're going to build systems and processes that identify new leaders and upcoming leaders and champions, and you're going to help it grow. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I've worked really hard to be as clear as I'm capable of right now without making 50 copies of this video. Actually, I already made a copy of this, just being really transparent with you. And for whatever reason, the audio didn't work, and it was really frustrating. I'm developing a new skill. I just want to know I'm developing this with you. I hope you're loving this. I can't tell you how much I'm loving doing this, and I hope it is a blessing to you. What I want to do is I want to give you an exercise, or 4 exercises to be specific, and then we'll give you some closing thoughts. Number 1, define the 3 legs in your own words. Don't change the definitions, but define them in a way that you'll remember. I don't want this to be a one-time lesson for you, a one-time write-off. I'd really like this to be something you memorize that enrich your life. So define leadership specialty, leadership administration, and general leadership practices and procedures. Try to use my definition as best you can, but write in a way that you memorize. Number 2, I want you to analyze your leadership stool. Which leg is your strongest? Which is your weakest? And why? Something that I think will help you do this is maybe make a list of 3 to 5 things you do for each one of the legs to help you kind of narrow down what your leadership even looks like. So 3 to 5 things on your specialty, how you do your specialty, 3 to 5 things on how you administrate your team, 3 to 5 things on how you just, lead your team with the practice of leadership. And I think that'd be a really helpful part of your exercise. So analyze your leadership stool, what's strongest, what's weakest, and why. Maybe make a list of what all you do in the 3 legs. But that's part of number 2. Number 3 is create a growth plan. When you see what's strong and what's weak, what are you going to do about it? How often will you do it? Be specific. Maybe Google SMART goals and make this a SMART goal if you are not familiar with that. What will you do? How often will you do it? What are you going to do to make that weaker leg strong so that your leadership gets stronger as well? Number 4, I want you to chart your leadership progression. Maybe you set a reminder on your phone right now for 1 month from now. And maybe set another one the next day just in case you snooze it that says, hey, check on your 3-legged leadership stool. Maybe you put some questions in there. Or maybe you make a note to look at this again in 1 month. Maybe you look at it every month for 6 months because you're going to review this content and you're going to continue to think about, how am I developing my leadership? How am I developing my leadership? How am I developing my leadership? What steps do I need to take to keep going? And then what do? You're growing as a leader. And when you grow as a leader, I think that you're a little bit more like Jesus because he's the best leader that there ever was or ever will be. And he made you. Here's what I believe about you. I believe that you are not where you are by accident. I believe you are doing what you're doing because God made you for it. I believe he made you for it. And I believe that the world and kingdom of God are benefiting by your leadership. But what I want to do is I want to help you find the ceiling of your current leadership. And what I want to do is I want to help you break through that ceiling to find a whole new world of potential that maybe you didn't even know was there. I'm so grateful that other people have done that for me. I hope to do that for you. I love you to pieces. And what do leaders do? Leaders lead. So let's keep on leading. Welcome to episode 1 of the 321 podcast. I'll see you next month. Peace out.